Our story today revolves around Nurhan. Her story became famous as the girl from Port Said. In December 2022, Nurhan, a girl 20-year-old, student of Literature University, was known for her beauty and intelligence. She received admiration from many young men she encountered. From Port Said, Egypt, she lived with her father Khalil, her younger brothers Ahmed and Adam, and of course, her mother Dalia, who is the true heroine of this story. The family moved to a new house in a neighborhood called Paradise. Nurhan worked as a private tutor for children to help her family with expenses. Upon moving to their new home, the family began to acquaint themselves with their new neighbors. Nurhan, she knows them about herself to offer private tutoring for neighborhood children. Her father was a kind man whose job required him to be away from home for extended periods, working far from their residence. Her mother, Dalia, worked as a supervisor at one of the largest hospitals in the area, where the workers held her in high regard. Dalia often had conflicts with Nurhan due to her numerous relationships, and always tried to guide her and prevent problems before they occurred. She, like any mother, wanted to see her children in the best possible light. They had a neighbor named Hussein, 15 years old, a friend of Nurhan's brothers Ahmed and Adam. He had a sister named Ibtisam, whom Nurhan tutored. Despite the age difference between Nurhan and Hussein, he admired her. On several occasions he spoke to her, and she responded because he was her brother's friend, and she tutored his sister Ibtisam. One day, Hussein asked Nurhan for her phone number, which made her feel uneasy. But what was the reason for Hussein's boldness in making such a request? Many witnesses, including Hussein himself, claimed that one night around 1 a.m., they saw Nurhan with a university friend sitting in a dark spot under the house. Hussein took out his phone and captured several photos and videos of Nurhan, which appeared to contain suspicious content. When Nurhan refused to give him her phone number, Hussein threatened to reveal the photos and videos to her family and expose her to the neighborhood. Fearing this, Nurhan agreed and gave him her number. Their communication began with phone calls, with Hussein flirting mildly with Nurhan. One day, Dalia, Nurhan's mother, went to work and forgot her keys at home. When she returned, she realized her mistake and decided to wait for a family member to come home with the keys. While waiting, she ran into Hussein by chance. He offered to help her and managed to open the door using simple tools like a card and a small metal object. Dalia realized that anyone who knew these methods couldn't be an ordinary person, suspecting he could enter the house without a key. She informed the family of this incident when they returned home, which was a crucial piece of information for Nurhan. Nurhan and Hussein continued their phone conversations, and after a while, Hussein asked to visit her at her apartment. Nurhan agreed, fearing he would threaten her again with the photos and videos if she refused. At the same time, Nurhan was planning something significant, but still couldn't piece everything together. Hussein visited the house when no one else was home. He lay next to her on the bed. Nurhan felt secure because her mother's job sometimes required her to work 24-hour shifts at the hospital, ensuring no one would come home during this time. Nurhan was sharing a room with her brothers, and that night Ahmed and Adam came in and slept without noticing Hussein's presence. Dalia returned from work late, went straight to bed, and woke up early the next morning. When she entered the children's room to wake them for school, she found Hussein sleeping next to Nurhan. She got angry and scolded them both. But Nurhan, using her intelligence, made up a lie on the spot, claiming that she did not know how Hussein got into the house. She said he was escaping the police, who were looking for him because of a problem he caused and hid in their house. She suggested her younger brother Adam might have let him in. Dalia didn't believe her but couldn't do much, so she stayed silent to protect her daughter's reputation. She was perplexed and wondered what kind of relationship could exist between Hussein and Nurhan, given the 5-year age gap. Dalia began thinking of an alternative solution and decided to find a suitor for Nurhan, hoping it would change her life for the better. She took her phone away and forbade her from going out. Nurhan was plotting to use everyone around her in a plan to protect herself from scandal, especially after her mother threatened to take her to a doctor to confirm her virginity. Nurhan was very worried because she knew she wasn't a virgin and started thinking of ways to avoid the scandal. But this was merely a threat from her mother to scare and discipline her. A suitable suitor proposed, and a grand engagement party was held. This engagement infuriated Hussein, who couldn't bear to lose the girl he loved. He became obsessed with Nurhan and couldn't let go of her, so he continued to communicate with her, and she responded naturally. When Dalia discovered they were still in contact, she confronted Hussein and threatened him to stay away from her daughter, fearing her fiancé's family might find out. Hussein saw Dalia as the main obstacle to his happiness. Meanwhile, Nurhan was finalizing her plan, exploiting Hussein's age and love for her. Being only 15, any punishment he received would likely be lenient, possibly just a brief stay in a juvenile detention center. Secondly, Hussein's ability to enter the house without a key and his known troublesome reputation made him an easy scapegoat. On the other hand, her mother wanted to check her virginity, which would be a huge scandal if true. Nurhan had to execute her plan quickly. She manipulated Hussein's mind until he agreed to take revenge on Dalia, initially planning to hurt her son Ahmed to break her heart. But Nurhan managed to change Hussein's mind to target her mother instead. Hussein agreed, and they set a date for the act. The father was at work, the brothers were out, and the exhausted mother came home from work and went straight to bed. Nurhan took her mother's phone and called Hussein to come over, planning to kill two birds with one stone. Eliminate her mother and the potential scandal, and get rid of Hussein and the photos he used to threaten her. When Hussein entered, carrying a spiked wooden stick and a hammer, Nurhan pointed him to her mother's room. He struck Dalia on the head with the stick, waking her up. Nurhan had prepared hot water as Hussein requested, which they poured on Dalia. They continued assaulting her as she began reciting her final prayers, asking them to leave together and not be seen again. Hussein insisted on finishing the job, fearing she might report them, which was also Nurhan's goal. They continued beating and torturing her. Nurhan handed Hussein a glass cup, which he shattered to stab and slash her mother. There was blood everywhere. After 45 minutes of torture, Dalia died of her wounds. At this moment, Nurhan's younger brother Adam knocked on the door, but Nurhan had locked it from the inside. Not receiving any response, he went back to playing outside. Nurhan and Hussein cleaned the apartment of the blood, washed their hands, and changed their clothes. Nurhan collected all the tools used in the crime in a black plastic bag. Their plan was to mutilate Dalia's body beyond recognition and dump it somewhere. However, they were unable to move the body because the street was crowded with people, so they left the house with their things. Nurhan called her father to tell him that someone had informed her that her mother had fallen ill and had been taken to the hospital and that she was heading there. Nurhan and Hussein left the house, leaving her murdered mother in the bedroom. When the father and brothers reached the hospital and found no sign of Dalia, they started searching for her in various places to no avail. They tried calling Nurhan multiple times, but her phone was off. The father then tried calling Dalia's number, which rang once before being switched off. After a long search, the father returned home, where he discovered his wife's mutilated body in the bedroom. The scene was horrific, and the neighbors gathered at the father's screams and were shocked by what they saw. Neighbors called the police and tried reaching Nurhan, but her phone remained off. After a few minutes, the police arrived and began collecting evidence and fingerprints from the crime scene. 2 hours later, Nurhan finally appeared, showing signs of indifference. She claimed she had been searching for her mother without success. When asked why her phone was off, she said she ran out in a hurry and forgot it at home, also mentioning some missing money from the dining table, suggesting a robbery. The police couldn't find Nurhan's phone, Dalia's phone, or the mentioned money. There were no signs of forced entry, indicating the perpetrator entered the house normally. During the investigation, the police found a blood-stained shirt near the body, which Adam immediately identified as Hussein's, who was known for his problematic behavior and ability to enter the house without a key. In the meantime, Nurhan sat among the people with an air of indifference, as if the murdered woman inside was not her own mother. The police swiftly gathered information about Hussein and moved to apprehend him at 11 o'clock at night. Forensic team continued their work at the crime scene. They decided to transport the body to the morgue. When the ambulance arrived, Nurhan accompanied her mother's lifeless form. Meanwhile, the police arrested Hussein, who had promised Nurhan that he wouldn't reveal anything. However, upon his arrest, Hussein confessed, divulging all the details to the authorities. Aware that Nurhan was in the ambulance, the police contacted the security personnel accompanying her. They requested that she be taken calmly to the police station. Upon arrival, Nurhan was apprehended. At first she denied everything and tried to absolve herself of the crime. She had a unique ability to convince people that she was innocent. After numerous events, investigations, and trials, this case became a major public affair. Nurhan eventually confessed and reenacted the crime in full detail. Finally, the court delivered its verdict. Nurhan received the death penalty, while Hussein faced severe punishment due to his underage status. This concludes our story for today. See you in the next story, my friends.